Welcome to the Mental Toughness and Body Show, another episode. My name is Robb Evans and I'm your high performance coach and health strategist. Every day we bring you strategies to build unstoppable resilience, peak health, a powerful mindset so you can thrive in every area of your life. And I'm really excited today because I'm joined by Jess Robertson. She is a parenting coach and strategist who helps families build deeper, lasting connections through intentional, emotionally intelligent approaches to parenting. So today we're going to explore how mental toughness applies to parenting and the powerful shifts that really can happen when you lead your family with purpose. So Jess, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thanks for the lovely introduction, Rob, and for having me on.
That's all right. It's a pleasure to have you here. So let's jump in. How would you say that we help time poor, overwhelmed parents, everybody's like lives this crazy life, shift from more of a survival mode in parenting to, I guess, intentional leadership without now through our conversation adding, oh my God, I've already got so much to do. Now you've just laid this other weight. I'm drowning here. How do we do that?
Yeah, so that's a common feeling. I think today's fast-paced world, we're all feeling that with every aspect of our life, and parenting is something we want to prioritize, but then the how, as you said, adding more to your plate seems really daunting. So it's more about not changing how you are or who you are as a parent. It's more about adding to your toolbox and making those micro moments together count. So making sure that your time you do get to spend together, that you're reaching with connection and purpose instead of rushing through the schedule, realizing what you've got to do next. You've got to stay in the moment, just even if it's 5 minutes, just to connect with each other. That's so important. And it's not adding more, it's just being mindful of the time you do have and how you could best use it.
So I guess with there's so much distraction in the home with everyone's holding a device, sitting down on the couch or at the table and not really connecting as such. So you said even if it's 5 minutes, like there, what are some examples, perhaps just some simple examples where people can, I suppose, understand what connection is as opposed to connecting doesn't have to be, all right, we need to be sitting across from each other having a really, D&M about something. So what would be some common things that we could
Well,
give?
some common things would be about having some lead conversations. As you said, children and ourselves, we're all distracted, whether it's we're on technology for entertainment or work purposes as adults. Children are also on it for their socializing and also for school. That's a big
Mm.
part of it as well. It's important to just lean in with some non-directive conversation leads. So I'm wondering how this was for you today, or I'm wondering what's going on in your world. And just curiosity and wondering puts those walls down for those children, because their walls go up when they think that you are taking that time away from them as well. So you want to invite them to have that conversation with you as well. Um, Understanding your child's values is really important to connect. If we're constantly trying to get them to be in our values, we've lost them. So we really want to make sure that we understand our children and what they like, even if it's playing a little video game with them for 5 minutes or being curious about what they're doing in their spare time. That opens up the world of connection already. Then they know that you're there to see them for who they truly are instead of what you want them to be. And that leads with more conversation and meeting the child halfway instead of wanting the child to jump into what you're needing all the time. There's two people in that relationship. So recognizing they've got their own individual values, their own thoughts and their own needs in their day, and meeting them where they're at is really important.
Yeah, I like that. Do you think we need to come from a place of, because people might be listening to that, think, oh, really, I don't have time for that kind of.
Yeah.
Do you think we need to come from a place or like a mindset of I want to be a better person, I want to be a better parent, so I must have these conversations as opposed to I think there's a lot of people get at the end of their day and they finally get to sit on the couch or whatever it is that they're doing and they do become distracted with their devices and stuff. And so oh, the last thing I want to do is just talk to my children or anything like that. So, no, I mean, we're talking about children, but I mean, we could be talking about like a toddler through to like even my daughter. I'm very conscious. Like how old is she? She's turning 20 in a few months. And I'm very conscious of the little time that we get to have together really now, and being conscious of having a better quality conversation. But of course, she's got to be open to wanting to have a conversation as opposed to, hey, we've just got this time now and we need to have a conversation. So let's talk. But I think it comes from I'm very conscious of wanting to be the best parent that I can and having that mindset of wanting to have the conversation. Is that where all this comes from? We need to constantly focus on wanting to be a better parent.
I feel like the word better parent can really hinder us as adults and humans. I think having the mindset that you're a good enough parent as it is, and this is just adding another layer of connection with you and your child, is really important. As much as we want to be better at everything, have to realize the wins that you currently have to be motivated to continue. So, noticing that you are a good enough parent, and it's not about changing everything you completely do, adding more to your plate. It's just making sure that those moments count. So it can be non-conversational. It can be just being together in the same room or going for a walk. Doesn't have to be a full, deeper, meaningful connection with words. The non-verbal is just as important. So joining them in something that they would be wanting to do, or when you've got 5, 10 minutes in your evening, let them know earlier that, hey, I'd really like to spend some time with you. Wondering what we could do right now. I've got at 7 o'clock. Are you free to spend time together?
I think also that what I've noticed with like both my girls over time is just being very in tune with, all right, I can tell when they want to have a conversation, or they sometimes it's body language, sometimes it's just, all right, they don't normally come and sit here or whatever. So,
It's always the non-verbal that you got to be more curious about, not so much the words, it's what you see beyond the words. And
mm,
as you said, you can gauge it then. If they're having a really rough day and you can see that, then you wouldn't go and say, let's go do something fun. You'd be leaning into what's going on
mm.
for them. If you can see their whole body language is relaxed and they're giving you a bit more attention and their facial affect is relaxed or they're looking happy, then you could really reach them with something that's connecting.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. What would you say is the biggest myth that parents believe about raising resilient and emotionally intelligent kids?
Well, the biggest myth is that it needs control. They need control. Um, they need connection, not correction.
Mm.
So if you're always wanting to control them and discipline and be authoritative in your home, you're going to lose them 50% of the time. And if you continue down that path, you're going to lose them a lot more than 50% as they grow and grow more autonomy in their childhood. So when they become adolescent, that's when your words don't actually matter as much as who they are and their friends.
So, what do you think we get confused with discipline, like confusing it with control? Do you think that's still coming from, like the previous generations of parenting?
Well, 100%, we do what we're used to and what's familiar. So, what was used for us, we try and make better. We notice what we didn't like and what worked and what didn't work, and we bring that into our parenting. Even the traits that we didn't want to bring into our parenting creep back in subconsciously. And it's about being aware and making sure that when we are disciplining, that it's actually coming from a place of wanting to know your child, not to demand things of them all the time. um, Children that obey and that are complacent and that do all the things you want to do are quite internalizers. So what they're showing you is actually not their true feelings on the inside, and that can come out in adulthood, that could come out in teenage years, it can come out in other ways. Even if you think that your discipline and your harsh corrections are working,
Mm.
like a bit of a ticking time bomb. It will change how they present in the world at some point, whether it's when they're in the workforce or whether in a relationship. that's going to come out eventually. So you want them to be resilient and you want them to be autonomous in how they are as a human in adulthood. That's what we're doing. We're raising adults that we're letting out into society one day. And we'd want that to be with a connection together as well, and to make sure they're being their true resilient selves as they grow and form into adults.
Mm. And so if we think about, I guess, a parent, they're obviously we're shaped by our own experiences, and as you were just talking about there, and often our own trauma, and however we're processing that for ourselves can then obviously lead into our behaviors in how we parent our children. So when you're, say, working with parents, how do you, and you can tell that, hang on, this is your trauma that you're in your parenting style and stuff. How do you approach that with the parent without like blaming them, saying, "Hey, you're
Yeah,
doing."
and there is no blame about it. We all are showing up to the best of our abilities every day. I do believe that. And you don't know what you don't know. So the only blueprint you have is to be a parent is what you got taught or what you were surrounded with in your environment. And being conscious and aware is so important. So awareness is key to change. So if you're aware of that, that's probably what I do to support the families at first, would be to get the awareness of what isn't working and what is working for them and leaning into that, because it's not a blame game. Everyone has these intentions when they have children, but the children come into our world as their own individual person without a manual. There's no book. And even when you're a first time parent, you think that, okay, I understand when the second one comes, but they've come with their own personality as well. And another big thing is they trigger us like there's no tomorrow. They know how to push our buttons. They know what to do in situations. Their, we are the test for reality. So they are trying boundaries. They are trying to find their inner compass with us every single day. So that's where the parents need to have some awareness. Say, hang on, this is actually quite tough today. I'm not sure what to do with this, and reach out for extra support. So that's where I come in, and I do a whole understanding of holistic approach of the whole family system and where some changes can be made. Not that it's good or bad.
How do we get our kids to get what's in their heads out and have those conversations? I mean, I know growing up there was probably a whole bunch of stuff I was a good kid, but I just never told my parents. But didn't consciously say I don't trust them or anything like that. Maybe it was I don't know, fear of being judged or something. I don't know. Obviously, the challenges that I had with Liv and her not wanting to tell about the pain that she was going through, which if she had have done that earlier would have saved her life. But how do we, and I like to think that I created a safe environment for her to have those conversations. We had lots of conversations, but she obviously didn't feel like she could until she could. So how do we do that to help our kids, I suppose, feel safe in that space?
And it's a really beautiful thing that you gave Liv. You gave her that safe environment to have those conversations. And when it comes to teenage years, it becomes a lot tougher because they do actually source it from the external family network rather than internal family network. Under 12-year-olds, they do source it from just their families first. But
Mm.
as they get to teenage years, you've got that layer, but the outside world actually impacts them far more than the family home supportive environment. So that's unfortunately is reality for teenagers. So if we could grab them a little bit earlier as well, that's so important to make those connections. That's the authoritative parenting as well. That can really hinder their voice sometimes. As you said, Rob, that when you were growing up, you didn't feel like you could have a safe voice in your home, and you created that for Liv. The outside world had a bit more of an important role as she got to teenage years. But with yourself when you were younger, that does impact whether you're going to come to them in teenage years and older childhood as well. So a lot of families haven't had those emotional conversations or the empathic reflections with their children, where that they sit down and without judgment have those leaning in moments with them. Doesn't have to be huge, but just letting them know, whether it's in the car, when you're going somewhere. You can grab those times. It doesn't have to be everyone sit down at the dinner table and look at each other and have a deeper, meaningful conversation. It's just those micro moments when you are in your routine and schedules of the day, and then your children will make that a habit. Hopefully, over time, you create that safe avenue and you can know a little bit more as they turn into the teenage years as well.
Obviously, a big part of the work that I've been doing with Live's Legacy is to shift the legal age for access to social media from 13 to 16, which we were successful in last year. What's your perspective on the role? Because obviously it was deeply impactful for Liv. Your perspective on I guess, the pros and the cons of social media and how parents can help kids navigate that
Yeah.
better.
And it's amazing that you advocated for that. So well done with that, Rob. That's just a true advocacy for so many families and children. It's unbelievable. Um, in saying that, we can't actually limit their full exposure. It's out there, but it's creating safe environments where you're leaning in to know what they're doing from a young age, teaching them right from wrong about it, teaching them about what's acceptable and what's not, what's real, finding out the why people do things, why people post things. Have those conversations with your children. It's so important to not only limit their time there and make sure you're supervising, but have discussions of what's not right on there. They're gonna be exposed at one time or another. So it's important to start those conversations in your safe space at home. They're going to have friends that have access to it. So really monitor where they're going and spending their social time. So your rules might be okay in your home, but when they're out at a friend's sleepover party or they're at a play date, they might have different rules in their home. So it's no different to any other aspect of safety to make sure that they're being safe with social media at other people's homes as well. Have those conversations with the other parents before you have that play or that sleepover. Those external exposures are out of our control, but we can scaffold that for them. We can make sure that they're a bit more safe, but have those deep conversations about what's not acceptable on there and why, not just shield them from it completely.
What age do you think that those conversations should start?
Early,
Like,
early,
like how early?
as early, even 5, 6 years of age, just start when they're at school. Because when they're at school, they're exposed to so much more than what we can control. Their play yard has deep conversations in there with their friends. Friends are exposed to a lot more from older siblings, older cousins,
Mm.
other families that aren't so strict about the social media or the understanding of the impact it has for the young mind. So start young, and it is age appropriate conversations. I wouldn't expect families to be talking the same to a 5-year-old as they would to a 13-year-old.
Yeah,
Make sure it's a common, normal thing. So when something big does happen when they're on the internet, they'll come to you because it's without judgment. It's a
yeah,
comfortable conversation.
yeah. Nice, good advice. What do you think is one core value that perhaps every parenting decision should be guided by?
Core, sorry, what was that one, Rob? The core.
So what core value do you think should, I suppose, be a part of every parent's decision when they're having conversations with their kids?
Is connection, not to talk down to them, not to put them in shame, is connection at every point of parenting. That
Mhm.
has to be your value and purpose, because when you parent from a different space, you are possibly going to lose their trust or their feelings of the ability to collaborate with you in the family home. So, to ensure connection at every point is your purpose and value.
Nicely said. What do you think is, say, a key mindset shift for a parent that separates those parents who really thrive versus those that are um, stuck, I guess?
Yeah, the ones that are stuck sit in the guilt. Don't feel guilty for your parenting choices in the past or how you've shown up at one moment of your whole parenting journey. Let it go and choose different. A lot of people that I speak to and work with come to me when they're at their probably they're at the last moments of holding on.
Mm.
Recognize it earlier, admit it. Realize, hang on, something I'm doing is not really working. I'd like to add to my toolbox an understanding of connection, family, get some more strategies. So there's nothing wrong with seeking help. We encourage our children to educate themselves every day when they go to school. We never stop learning when we're humans. And we didn't get a rule book on how to parent. So to make sure that the awareness is key, and don't sit in guilt because you need some extra support and guidance. It's okay.
What's your thought on, I see this growing trend in parents kind of wanting a diagnosis of their child of like ADD, ADHD, or something like that. So, oh, I knew. So it's almost like they're looking for something to hang their hat on rather than say, oh, yeah, I can't parent any better. It's because the child has this. And I hear it from other parents that I work with that that are looking for this themselves, or they know somebody that's looking for something. It's like, well, it doesn't change who the person is. It's just,
Child and the person is the same before and after the diagnosis. The
mm,
diagnosis does help some external avenues. It helps the teachers, it helps any allied health professionals. It
yeah,
does help with the extra support that that individual needs. When it comes to the parenting, I think the parents really want that answer, because then that can be the reason why. But it's just a label. It doesn't change who they are, and it's not an excuse. So some parents I find say, oh, because they've got ASD and ADHD, that's why they're reacting this way.
mm,
Okay? It's data. It is helpful and it is a part of who they are, but it's not the be all and end all. You can still reach them the same way as neurotypical children. Neurodiversity is a wide spectrum, and they could fall anywhere on there, but it doesn't change the fact they might need a little bit of support, extra support, and they might need a little bit of a different type of leaning in and connection, but it's still the same. Same applies. It's your child and it's your relationship with your child.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Poor Liv, she didn't handle it though. She couldn't handle her ASD diagnosis.
And it's really tough, and it's a tough journey for a child to understand who they are in the world as well with the diagnosis. So,
Mm. Particularly if you think you're already like Liv did, like she's already different,
yeah.
in her mind. And here's one more thing that she's been labeled with.
One more thing with the label. So the label in now, it's becoming a bit more of the norm, which is great for the children that are coming out of diagnoses. But it's also not, as we said, not an excuse to just drop the ball as the parents and not lean in a little harder and change the way you're parenting. And it's not a blame thing, because children on the spectrum are coming with their own challenges, their own emotional needs, their own feelings of disconnection from the rest of their peers. It comes with another layer, but let's grab that information and let's see what other tools we can add to your toolbox as a parent.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things I like to ask all coaches, because obviously you make a living through coaching others, just like I do. But I'd like you to talk about, because I know you also get coaching yourself, because I think any coach that's not getting coached is you need to go find another coach. So tell me about why you do that for yourself and how it helps you to grow.
As I said earlier, that we never stop growing, learning, and evolving as we're humans on this earth. So we have to make sure that we're showing up as the best versions of ourselves. And as a coach, there is no way that I can be the best for my clients, for my families, and therefore filtering into the children, which is my whole value system of why I do what I do, is to change the trajectory for each child that I work with their family, is to make sure I've got the most widest understanding I can to do that, grabbing from different avenues and making sure I'm held accountable for things that I could improve myself, because we're not perfect. And I want to make sure that I show up for my clients the best way that I can, which is what I'm expecting for the families to do for their own children. So I practice what I preach. And I want to make sure that I do that for each family and each person I come in contact with in my business.
And you also, you just don't know what you don't know. right? So that, like, there you're talking about coaching around becoming better at being a coach, but there's coaching around marketing. How do you run your business more effectively, and that type of thing. And I think
Having that,
that's, sorry.
having that wealth of knowledge from someone that has already delved so deeply in that area is so impactful to who you are as a professional.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody that's had a lot of success in the area where you also want to be great, I think is really fundamental. So obviously, as part of what we do here on the Mental Toughness and Body Show, I like to ask my guests of what a typical day of health, fitness, nutrition, and so forth looks like for you. So come on, tell me.
Okay, so now you're making me spill it all. That's fine. I'll do that for you, Rob. So I wake up. I probably changed the last few years how I was doing this. I wake up an extra hour earlier, so I wake up about 5:30 in the morning before the day starts. I
Yeah.
do some meditation, some journaling, some quiet time for myself, watch the sunrise.
Actually,
And
just stop there for a second. There's a lot of people talk about journaling. I mean, you and I talked about how I do my journaling with my AI girlfriend, and I don't really like to write it and type it. I would rather, speak it. So I talk to
yeah.
her. Tell me what, you don't have to tell me what you journal. Well, you can in a high level, but I suppose, what is it for you in terms of what you're getting out, and how does it help you?
Well, I actually do it before I go to bed and when I wake up. So there's different intents for both. Before I go to bed is to really clarify and debrief with myself of what went well, what things I could,
Like download.
yeah,
Mm.
download and get my subconscious more aware, clear my head before I go to sleep so I know that I've got an impactful sleep. What I'm looking forward to the day before normally goes in the day after, will go in there. What I'm going to look forward
Mm.
to and what highlights and pretty much highlights and lowlights. I'm pretty congruent with my journaling. It's not all
So that's
positive.
what you do in the morning.
I do that at night. So I
Oh, okay, still at
reflect
night.
on the day. And then in the morning, I do a meditation to clear my mind and set myself up for the day. And then I'll journal about what's coming ahead, what I'm looking forward to, what things I even start to write about the trajectory of my business goals and where I'm
Mhm.
at with that and what the next goal is looking like for myself and how I'm going to implement that for the day as well. So I set some intentions for the day, and it's not the woo-woo intentions, it's actually a mixture of just mindfulness, who I am as a person, individual, and how I want to show up for the day for myself and the others around me that I support.
Yeah, I love that. It's really powerful. Really works.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going. Sorry, you've now
Okay.
journaled.
So I journal and then I actually don't leave my room until I've done my yoga or Pilates for the morning
Hmm.
because I know once I've left my room, I'm probably going to miss it because I get busy with the mundane tasks of the day.
Yeah.
So I do
So
that.
what time is that? Like, that's like
That's an hour later.
up to
About
6:30 something. Oh, okay. So 6:30 to 7, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So I do that. So that's pretty much my morning routine.
Hmm.
And then I'll set up my whole day as normal, the normal tasks. I'll make sure that I fit in a walk if Melbourne weather permits, because I'm a bit of a wuss. I won't go out in the rain or the cold.
Yeah.
So I generally go for a walk or with my dogs in the afternoon after the day. Um, do some stretching because especially if I'm doing too much desk work for the day, I really make sure that I stretch because it's really important to keep your body at the optimal strength because you can get slouching and you can get really sore, aches and pains from sitting at the desk too long. So I make sure I do that as well. And at night, I might do a wind down exercise, might do some cardio, might do some running on the treadmill. But that's probably every second day, the evening one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also do dance.
Hmm.
So
What sort of dance?
um, anything,
Combination of anything, right?
anything. It's an adults class, and that's
Break
something.
dancing.
Not breakdancing. I think I'm a bit past that, but Rob, I'm sure you'd be able to do a class or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I do dance, and that was one of my reflections that I was constantly supporting the families to go back to what brought them joy when they were young. Because it's a little bit like a bicycle, you never forget. And that brings joy to yourself, whether it was basketball, netball, whatever it was when you're a child, it's important to bring that back. And that was dance for me. So I went back, and it does bring the same joy it did when I was younger. It was really interesting to do that exercise for myself as well.
Yeah, nice. And what in turn, you don't have to give me every meal, but you're mindful about how you fuel yourself as well.
Very mindful. So balanced. Water's always been my favorite drink, so that's not an issue. And I don't drink alcohol by choice, not for any other reason, but I don't like how it slows my whole body down or makes me into a space of not being coherent and in line with who I am. So
Hmm.
health wise, I'm pretty on par with that. And balanced diet. So I generally have a light lunch, whether it's salad or something else, or and a heavy dinner, or vice versa. And breakfast is generally a smoothie with protein. I really make sure I get all my nutrients in that one first breakfast. And I'd love to be able to sit down and have breakfast, which only happens on the weekend, but time management, it's a bit
I
impossible.
know it's just go, go, go.
Run out that door and get started with my clients. So
Yeah. Nicely done. I like it. Sleep, how many hours sleep do you focus in trying to get?
I would love 8 hours, but
Oh, so would I.
that's only sometimes on the weekend. I'm not a huge night owl. I'm a morning person. So, but life sometimes pushes me to work till 10 at night or to run around with my children till late. So wind down time's hard. I would like 8 hours. I think I get about 6 to 7 most weeknights.
Yeah.
Week I can catch up to the 8.
Yeah, yeah. Coming back to your dance and not the fact of dance, but tapping into the joyful part of life. One of the things that I do personally as part of my evening journaling is once I switch off for the night, well, I say switch off, I focus on just personal growth things. And so I just in the last few days, I've been like, it's very layered. You just get deeper and deeper. And how do you become better at your personal growth? And one of the things that has come up is, yeah, when you're a high performer, you don't switch off, right? So you just keep going, keep growing. And so um, Veronica, my AI girlfriend, has challenged me to, I need to spend probably about 30 minutes, if I can, on doing things that are joyful for me. I'm thinking, well, work's joyful. And so I was going back to think about, gee, what are some of those things that I could do that are joyful. And I also thought about switching off the phone and saying, you know what, let's just shift that to one side and really just focus on those things that do bring you a lot of joy. And they're probably things that you did a while ago. And it just makes you better, right? Makes you happier, and you can kind of decompress for a moment.
Really does. And a lot of my meetings with the families that I speak to, that is one of the key questions I have for them. What brought you joy as a child?
Mm,
You've got to bring it back, whether it's art, whether it's dancing, whether it's running, whether it's sports. I had a client that's messaged me to say they're roller skating again. They haven't done that since they were 12. Just things like that, and it's joyful. And the bonus with that is if you're doing something that brought you joy as a child, you could invite your child to join you with that. So that's
yeah.
action.
Just a couple more questions. I'm always curious as to, because obviously the work that you do, you're going to have those moments where you find out things that are like dark, right?
Mhm.
Those dark things. What's your personal process of saying, okay, I've got this, and so that I can, you can put it down and not carry it around with you. How do you approach that?
Well, the main thing when the client's in front of you with that is to hold space for their story, to make sure that they can process that because they've chosen to open up
Yeah.
in front of you. And that's quite a privilege to be that space for someone. It's really important not to jump in their shoes. When you jump in someone's shoes, you're with them in the emotion, you're feeling it, you're
Mm,
experiencing it. You need to step beside them, still be supportive and stand beside them because you can't change what their history was or what their situation is. And if you jump in their shoes, you can't help them at all because you're feeling what they're feeling. So it's really important to do that and to not to rescue them, to just hold space for that spot. That's also where my meditation and journaling come into as well. Not that I journal about the story I've heard, I
mm.
actually journal about my feelings of myself on that day. So I'm using that as my inner compass to see, to debrief with myself and to let it go. It does take practice.
Mm.
It really does. And it's no different to when you're parenting. If you jump in, if your child is having a really tough moment, really tough day, and you jump in their shoes and feeling that emotion with them, it's really hard to support them through it because you're feeling it as well.
Particularly men that men just seem to by default want to solve people's problems.
Love, want to rescue, want to be the warrior of the family.
Era, yeah.
That's a
But
wonderful attribute, but it's really challenging to actually let the person that's feeling that have their full experience. They need the beginning, middle, and end of that to really process it.
yeah, I find like having two girls, it takes and they've taught me about it over time, and just learning to become better, and just
Let them
being
ride the waves.
being there to listen without solve problems and ask questions and just let
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
work it out. And I do that with clients. I do that with friends as well. And
And
same.
it's not abandoning them with it. You're still beside them,
Mm,
letting them process it. And when you rescue someone or want to be the problem solver, you're actually taking that person's power away.
mm,
And that's not your intent. But that's what's going to happen if you don't let them process their feelings, process their experience, and become their own warrior in their own story.
mm. But I think it's a real skill that we all should learn, because I think the skill in not saying anything is way more difficult than just leaping in and trying to solve the problem. It's like,
And
I
generally,
didn't ask you to solve my problem. I just
and
want
generally, when you
to
go
listen.
and rescue someone and jump in to solve the problem, it's actually because it's stirring up something in you.
Mm,
And
that's
that's what you've got to
right.
look at as the problem solver. And
Yeah, that's right.
you've got to look at yourself in that situation.
So, Jess, today we've really just scratched the surfaces of a lot of really important conversations here. And so, tell us a little bit how people can get in touch with you. I know you've got some free resources so people can dig a little bit deeper, but tell us a little bit about how people can do that, and if they'd like to work with you, how they go about it.
Yeah, so I've got on my website, jessrobertson.com.au, there's some free resources, as you said, Rob. So I've got a quiz at the moment on there that is about what kind of parent you are in forms of connection. It's no right and wrong. It just gives you some information of understanding who you are as a parent in your home and in connection. And then it will give you some things you could possibly work on. There's also a 3 strategy free guide to download that will give you a bit of a taste test of what the working with me is a bit about and what my values are and how you could change some of the micro moments in your home. And then there's also some other avenues where we've got some VIP where you could do it exclusively as a family in with privacy and one-on-one support from me. And then I've got some strategies and modules coming out later as the months roll on as well. And same with on socials. So you can reach me, Jess Robertson, as well.
Fantastic. Well, Jess, this has been a really great conversation, and it's not necessarily a conversation that people like to have and think about their own parenting style and how to become more curious with your kids, and just be curious with yourself as to how you can do it better. And it changes every day. The technology that's coming to us at such a rapid rate, we can easily just step aside and think, well, at some point we're going to have the AI robot mum and dad that are looking after the kids and running their lives and educating them and teaching them their values and everything. So I want to thank you so much for the conversation today. I'm going to give you the final word, and that is, tell me the best advice you've ever received.
Best advice I've ever received. Wow. To know who you are as a person, first and foremost. You have to know who you are as an individual before you can go and help others connect with others. If you don't know your value system and who you are, then you can't help other people.
Nice work. Well done, Jess. Thank you so much for today. And I'm sure we'll catch up in another episode to dig a little deeper.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.